A blade flashes under the classroom lights, not to teach but to intimidate. The hulking Cronar towers, breath like a storm, and every species in the hall tightens like a string about to snap. Then the human girl smiles. Not scared, not shocked. Just a small, almost bored smile that shifts the room's gravity. In that breath, a lesson is handed down without a shout or a strike. Fear can be a weapon, and patience can be a blade sharper than any steel. If you love tense HFY moments and human unpredictability, hit like and subscribe. It helps stories like this find more ears. Drop a quick comment. What would you do if a knife appeared in your lecture hall? Share this with a friend who loves human underdog wins. Okay, ready for the full script? Say proceed, and I'll write chapter 1 in full. The lecture hall of Xenobiology 204 was never meant for silence. Normally it buzzed, wings fluttering, translator devices humming, students murmuring across 20 different worlds worth of dialects. But when Drex stood up, that noise died as though the air itself froze. He was Cronar, 2.5 meters of scaled muscle and bone-plated hide, built on a world where gravity was twice that of Earth and predators were born knowing violence. His claws clicked as he walked down the tiered seats, each step echoing like a countdown. And in his hand, gleaming dull silver beneath the pale lights, was a knife. Not ceremonial, not decorative, real, heavy, balanced. Professor, Drex rumbled, his translator clicking, I do not learn from prey. I challenge your example. The room shifted. Wings twitched, tentacles recoiled, and a dozen species suddenly found their seats very uncomfortable. At the center desk sat Maya Kim, human 18 exchange student from Earth, hair tied in a short braid, posture loose and relaxed. Her datapad was still open to her notes on cross-species circulatory systems. She didn't even look up at first. The professor, a nervous trilobed being named Velen, squeaked through their translator. Drex, Academy code forbids. But Drex didn't care. Cronar came from Deathworlds, planets where only the strongest lived long enough to see the next sunrise. And yet, even among Deathworld species, humans were whispered about differently. Strange, dangerous, unpredictable. Maya finally looked up. One eyebrow lifted. Her voice came soft, conversational, like she was bored in line at a cafe. You sure you want to do that? That question didn't sound defensive, it sounded tired. Drex's pupils tightened. You insult me, soft skin. I haven't even said anything, she replied, closing her datapad gently. But go ahead. Teach me something. Every translator in the room struggled to capture the undertone. That human calm, that low frequency of go on, try it. A few of the other students slid toward the exits, claws tapping. Someone whispered, Is she suicidal? Another muttered, Maybe humans really don't feel fear. Drex bared his fangs, showing teeth like curved glass. You think you can win? I don't need to win, Maya said simply, rising from her seat. I just need to teach you a lesson. The professor's voice trembled. Security will let them, Maya said, eyes still on Drex. If I flinch, call them. Drex snarled, lunging. Not a full attack, but a mock strike meant to terrify. His blade stopped a few centimeters from her chest. Air shifted. Desks rattled.
Maya didn't move. Her eyes didn't even blink. And for 1 second, the Cronar, apex of 3 ecosystems, hesitated. Why wasn't she afraid? He could feel it. No adrenaline scent, no spike of panic, just stillness, like a predator who'd already mapped his death in her mind and decided to let him walk into it. She tilted her head, voice almost gentle. You done? He hissed, stepping closer, close enough that she could smell the iron of his breath. You mock me? No, she whispered. You mock yourself. And then that smile, small, crooked, effortless, the kind of smile that belongs to someone who's seen storms and decided to dance in them. Before anyone could react, Maya's hand shot out, not to strike, but to touch the blade. She pressed her fingertip against the edge and drew blood deliberately, letting 1 crimson drop fall to the floor. The sight made Drex's pupils dilate. on his world. That gesture, to offer blood voluntarily, was a symbol of challenge accepted unto death. But she wasn't Cronar. She was human, and she just used his culture's own gesture like it was punctuation in a sentence. This, Maya said softly, her tone sharpening like winter glass, isn't your world. This is a classroom. You come at me with a knife again. She leaned closer, her voice dropping into a whisper every translator strained to catch. And I'll show you why Deathworlders still tell stories about humans around campfires. The tension snapped like a cable under pressure. Drex's claws trembled and the knife, that perfect piece of forged dominance, clattered the floor, echoing across the silent hall. No one moved. Velen, the professor, looked from Maya to the Cronar and back, utterly speechless. Maya took a slow breath, picked up her datapad, and sat back down. Lesson over. Can we continue? A nervous ripple of laughter, forced, confused, spread across the room. Even Drex didn't know what to do with himself. His tail flicked once, uncertain. Then he turned and left, each step heavier than before. Only when the door shut did sound return to the world. Velen cleared their throat awkwardly. As I was saying, the cardiovascular system of humans is remarkably adaptable. No one heard the rest, because every student in that hall was thinking the same thing. She didn't fight. She didn't scream. She just looked at him, and he broke. And that smile, it wasn't victory. It was warning. Outside the hall, Drex stopped by the corridor window, staring at his reflection. His claws still shook. For the first time in years, his heart raced not from the thrill of combat, but from confusion. Why did her eyes feel so ancient? Why did she make him feel like prey? He pressed his palm to the wall, trying to steady his breathing. Somewhere deep inside, a seed of something unfamiliar began to grow. Respect and fear. He had met hundreds of species across the Federation. But that girl, the small one with the calm smile, she carried a kind of power he couldn't name. The kind that doesn't need a weapon to end a fight. The kind that makes entire galaxies whisper. Maya didn't walk out of the lecture hall like a victor. She walked out like someone leaving a bus stop. Calm, unhurried, expression unreadable. But inside, her pulse thrummed beneath the surface. Not from fear, but control. Because that was the first lesson every human learned growing up on Earth. You don't have to be the strongest. You just have to be the last one still standing. She leaned against a corridor wall, letting the adrenaline taper off. Always the same, she murmured to herself. The loud ones break first. Behind her, voices began to fill the hall again. She could already hear the rumors starting, fragments of disbelief, awe, and confusion. Did you see her eyes? She didn't even flinch. She smiled. By the time Maya reached her next class, those whispers had already traveled 3 levels up the academy. Humans had always been oddities here, newcomers to the Galactic Federation. Their biology ranked in the extreme adaptation risk category. But most people had never seen what that meant in motion. Until now, that evening, a soft tone echoed through Maya's dorm. The hollow panel on her wall lit up with Professor's shimmering image. "Miss Kim," Velen said, voice still unsteady. "May I speak privately?" "Sure," Maya said, sitting cross-legged on her bunk. "I reviewed the footage," Velen began. "You didn't provoke him, but you also didn't report it afterward." "I handled it," she replied. "That's not procedure." Maya smiled faintly. Neither is pulling a knife in class. The professor paused, clearly uncomfortable. Do humans normally react that way? Without fear. Fear is not the problem, Maya said softly. It's how long you let it drive you. She saw the confusion flicker across Velen's face, so she tried again, slower, simpler. On Earth, everything wants to eat you. The weather, the animals, even the air sometimes. You get used to fear early. You stop letting it make your choices. Velen tilted their head. Curious. So you use fear as a tool? Maya shook her head. No, I just didn't let his fear control me. Cronar think dominance is everything. They don't understand patience. She leaned closer to the hollow, eyes sharp. Predators who chase everything that moves? They starve. The ones who wait, they live. Velen stared at her for a moment, the realization dawning slowly. You were teaching him. Maya smiled again, that same quiet curve that turned a knife into a symbol. Lesson ended early, though. Hours later, Drex stood in the academy gym, pounding the reinforced wall with his fists. Each impact echoed like thunder. He couldn't understand it. He had faced apex hunters, fought through blizzards that froze lungs solid, survived toxin storms that dissolved lesser species. But that girl, she hadn't even moved. He replayed in his mind the blade, the stare, the drop of blood. Every time he reached that smile, his muscles clenched involuntarily. Why? He growled to himself. Why didn't she break? A quiet voice came from behind him. Because humans don't break the same way you do. He turned, and there she was again, leaning against the doorway. He froze. You follow me now? Maya shrugged. You're loud. Hard to miss. His nostrils flared. You humiliated me. I stopped you, she corrected. Big difference. You shamed me in front of class. I didn't have to. You did that when you brought a weapon to a discussion. Her tone wasn't mocking. It was factual, surgical. He roared, slamming his fist into the wall again. You think you are strong? No, Maya said. I think I'm human. Drex snarled. And what does that mean? Maya stepped closer, unafraid. It means we learned to run before we learned to fight. It means our ancestors were prey before we became predators. And we remember both. She stopped just in front of him. You want to understand humans? Stop looking for power. Start surviving everything that wants to kill you for a few million years. Then come talk to me. He blinked, his translator humming quietly as it processed her words. There was no arrogance in her voice. No threat. Just history. Wait. It hit him harder than any strike could. Drex slowly lowered his head. On my world, no one speaks to me like that. Maya smiled. Then maybe that's the problem. She turned to leave, but before stepping out, she added without looking back. Next time, Drex, bring a question, not a knife. That night, the Academy's interspecies network lit up with messages. Threads labeled #KnifeIncident, #DeathworldHuman, #Cronar Challenge failed. Everyone had an opinion. Some called her a monster. Others called her brave. But one post from a quiet observer captured it best. She didn't fight. She reminded him what fighting costs. By morning, security reports labeled the event a non-lethal confrontation. Officially, no one was punished. But unofficially, every student on campus knew Drex. The Cronar who'd pulled a knife now avoided sitting near humans. And when other Deathworlders passed Maya in the hall, they didn't stare. They nodded, respectfully, because they'd all seen something ancient in her that day, something that lived in every human's bones. The calm before the storm. Later, as she sat under the Academy's synthetic skylight, watching the twin suns set, Maya whispered a single thought aloud. Sometimes the best way to teach a predator, she smiled faintly, is to let it see its own reflection. And somewhere across the stars, on 1,000 screens and in 100 tongues, the story began spreading, not as a scandal, but as a warning. The Deathworld human didn't attack. She smiled, and that smile ended the lesson. News traveled fast in Galactic Federation, but nothing spread faster than fear disguised as curiosity. By the next cycle, every Academy news feed, talk forum, and diplomatic bulletin carried the same headline in different tongues. Cronar warrior draws blade. Human girl responds without violence. The clip was only 10 seconds long. The knife, the stare, the smile, the drop of blood. But those 10 seconds ignited debates across 50 planets. In the Federation Council chamber, a room built like a cathedral of glass and light, Ambassador Raycor of the Cronar delegation slammed a clawed fist against the table. This is an insult to my people. That human used psychological warfare inside a learning institution. Opposite him, Earth's representative, Ambassador Hahn, didn't flinch. She merely adjusted her datapad and replied with calm precision. Your citizen brought a weapon into a classroom. My citizen refused to escalate. If your definition of warfare includes self-control, then humanity accepts the compliment. The room buzzed with overlapping languages, translators chirping, diplomats whispering. The chairman's three eyes blinked in sync. Order, it boomed. Ambassador Raycor, are you proposing sanctions? Raycor hesitated. The data record was clear. No physical violence, no provocation. Just that look, that smile. He finally growled, no sanctions, but awareness. The humans are not to be underestimated. Ambassador Hahn smiled faintly. We told you that when we joined. Back on the Academy world, things shifted quietly. Cronar cadets who once mocked humans now avoided them in corridors. Deathworlders from other species, Draz, Koldar, even the acid-skinned Shivan, began nodding respectfully when they saw Maya. To them, she wasn't a hero or a villain. She was proof. Proof that humans didn't need claws or venom to dominate a moment. In the cafeteria that week, Maya sat alone with a tray of synthetic noodles. A timid voice broke the silence. Is this seat taken? She looked up. It was a Gluin student, small, soft-skinned, with translucent eyes. Their hands trembled slightly as they held their tray. Go ahead, Maya said, gesturing to the seat. They sat down quickly, trying not to make eye contact. I saw the video. They blurted. Everyone did. You weren't scared. Maya shrugged. Of course I was. That answer made the Gluin pause. But you didn't look scared. That's the point, she said softly. Fear isn't about what you feel. It's about what you let others see. The Gluin tilted their head. Fascinated. Humans, you really come from a place like the Cronar? With monsters? Worse, Maya said with a small laugh. Our monsters never went extinct. We just built cities around them. The Gluin blinked. How do you live like that? Maya smiled faintly. We call it Tuesday. The little alien stared, tried process the joke, then laughed nervously, unsure if it was humor or confession. In the security wing, Lieutenant San, a four-armed Dravik officer, reviewed the incident file for the 20th time. Pause at frame 290, he ordered. The hollow froze, Maya's hand touching the knife's edge. Zoom! The projection expanded until the crimson drop of blood hung in the air like a miniature star. She knew exactly what she was doing, San muttered. That gestures Cronar. That's not instinct, that's research. His assistant clicked uncertainly. You think she studied them before? She studied everyone, San replied. That's what humans do. They learn you before you even know they're learning. He leaned back, thoughtful. That's how they survived their death world. Curiosity as a weapon. Drex, meanwhile, hadn't been seen in days. Word spread that he'd entered the Wilderness Training Dome, a biosphere designed to simulate his homeworld gravity and predators. Alone, some said he went to train. Others whispered he went to find the part of himself that had broken. Inside that dome, Drex faced beasts that moved like thunder and hissed like rain. But none of them scared him as much as his own reflection in the mirrored visor of his training helmet. Because every time he looked into his eyes, he saw her. That calm, that patience, that quiet, unnerving mercy. He remembered her words. Predators who chase everything that moves, they starve. He hadn't understood it then. But now, after 3 days without sleep, after watching predators stalk and fail, after almost dying twice, he began to understand. Patience wasn't weakness. It was power in disguise. Across the galaxy, on a Deathworld research forum, a post went viral overnight. Humans aren't the strongest. They're the most adaptable. They don't fight nature. They negotiate with it. It was signed anonymously, but investigators later traced it back to a Cronar IP address. By the end of the week, Maya was summoned again, this time not by her professor, but by the Academy Council. The room was large, bright, filled with holographic symbols of 100 worlds. At the center sat Dean Varu, a serene, crystalline being whose voice sounded like wind through glass. Miss Kim, they began, you have caused considerable discourse. Maya stayed still. I notice. You did not violate any rule, Varu continued, but your action and inaction has altered the Academy's environment. Some species now fear you. Maya's answer came quiet but steady. Good. Maybe they'll stop bringing knives to class. A few of the council members exchanged glances. Varus' crystalline eyes pulsed faintly. And if they bring more than that? Maya's voice didn't change. Then I'll smile again. Silence. Then Varus' voice softened. You humans are something else. Maya smiled lightly. That's what everyone keeps saying. When she left the council chamber, the hallway felt different. Not empty, alert. Eyes followed her, not out of suspicion, but recognition. Respect mixed with wariness. Every Deathworlder understood now. The human girl hadn't just ended a confrontation. She'd introduced a new rule to the unspoken hierarchy of the academy. And perhaps the galaxy. Don't mistake silence for weakness. Don't mistake calm for surrender. And never mistake a human smile for peace. That night, as the academy domes dimmed into their artificial night cycle, Maya sat by her window. 2 moons hung above, their light brushing the steel skyline. In her hand, she turned a small object, a fragment of Drex's knife, recovered from the floor after the incident. The edge was dulled now. She whispered softly, almost like a lullaby to herself. Lesson 3 coming soon. And in that quiet, a small spark of humanity's legend, the kind born from patience and unspoken warning, began to spread. Morning came quietly over the academy world. Pale light spilled across the domes, glinting off corridors still buzzing with low, cautious whispers. The storm had passed, but its echo lingered, and Maya Kim walked through it all like nothing had happened. To some, she was a symbol. To others, a warning. To herself, just another student trying to finish her xenopsychology midterm. She carried her data pad under one arm, hair loose now, eyes half tired. The kind of look that said I fought enough battles this week. But as she passed through the common halls, conversations hushed, and alien gazes followed like planets orbiting a sun they didn't understand. They didn't see a girl. They saw a Deathworld survivor, small, fragile-looking, yet somehow the most dangerous thing in the room. In the far courtyard, Drex waited. He wasn't armed this time. No blade, no armor, just the weight of humility. When she spotted him, Maya sighed softly but walked over anyway. You found me, she said. He nodded, his scales duller than before. I needed to. Why? He took a long breath, the sound like rocks grinding. On my world, weakness is death. I thought strength was dominance, but you showed me something else. Maya tilted her head. And what's that? That patience, Drex said slowly, is the sharpest weapon of all. A small smile tugged at her lips. You learned. He looked down, almost embarrassed. I still don't understand how you stood there. I could have killed you. You wouldn't have, Maya replied softly, because I already won before you moved. Drex frowned. How? Because you needed me to fear you, she said, and I didn't. That silence between them wasn't cold anymore. It was heavy with respect, a shared acknowledgement of 2 Deathworlders from different corners of the galaxy, one born from brutality, the other from endurance. Drex bowed his head slightly. My people will speak of this. Of you. Tell them I smiled, Maya said. That'll scare them more. He laughed, a low, rolling sound that made nearby students freeze in place. It wasn't mockery. It was genuine. Until next time, human. Until next time, Cronar. And with that, the biggest predator in the academy walked away, slower, wiser, and a little less certain that humanity was weak. Weeks passed. The story faded from gossip feeds, but never from memory. In advanced diplomatic classes, professors now use it as a case study. Conflict diffusion through psychological posture, the human method. In Deathworlder forums, it became a whisper proverb. Beware the quiet human. And in the council archives, a new annotation appeared under the species entry for human, Homo sapiens. Known behavioral note. When threatened, humans may respond with stillness, eye contact, and a disarming smile. This is not submission. It is strategy. Late one evening, Maya sat alone in the observation tower, looking out over the stars. The galaxy glittered, alive, endless, unpredictable. She thought about Drex, about fear, about how small gestures could ripple across worlds. Her reflection in the glass looked almost like a stranger, calm eyes, faint smile. "I guess we're still teaching," she whispered. A soft voice came from behind her. It was Velen, the professor, their trilobe shape glowing faintly in the dark. "You realize what you've done, Miss Kim?" "Passed your class?" she said dryly. They gave the alien equivalent of a sigh. "You've changed the temperature of this place. Predators are thinking twice. Scholars are quoting your behavior. Even the council took note." Maya turned, leaning on the railing. All I did was smile. "Exactly," Velen said. "And sometimes that's the most dangerous act in the universe." That night, the Academy broadcast a new safety holo to all incoming students. It played scenes of interspecies cooperation, crisis management, and cross-cultural respect. And for half a second, a single frame, it showed her, a human girl standing calm before Cronar's blade. No fear, just a smile. It wasn't captioned. It didn't need to be. Everyone knew the story by heart now. Across the stars, a Federation soldier watching the holo whispered to his squad, "You ever meet a human? Don't let the smile fool you." Another chuckled. "Yeah? Why?" The soldier smirked. "Because if they're smiling, it's already too late." And that, my friends, is the story of the Deathworld human who ended a fight with nothing but a smile. It's a reminder, in every galaxy, every era, that power isn't always about strength or noise. Sometimes it's the calm voice, the quiet stare, or that unshaken smile that rewrites the rules. Humans aren't terrifying because they destroy. They're terrifying because they endure. So, if this story gripped you, if that smile made you shiver just a little, hit like, tap subscribe, and share it with someone who'd get it. And tell me in the comments, what do you think the galaxy fears most about us? Until next time, traveler, remember, in a universe full of monsters, humans smile back.